So I want to drop a big video for you today on self-worth, self-love and healing, because God knows that I've been through a lot of healing in my own journey. And I think really it's interesting, the word healing, like when we're thinking about it. You know, you didn't come into this world needing to be healed. Like, you was already, you know, a fresh organic being straight out of the womb. It's like a lovely cake coming straight out the oven, you know, homemade by the source. And really, it's our job to keep that magic alive. But this world, it pollutes us, right? You know, like I've showed you in my video, you know, we go into these shops and it's like 90% of the food is not real food, you know. And so, just like that, our spirit needs to be maintained in the same way. You know, our mentality needs to be maintained in the same way. Think about it. Like, is my worth based on me talking to you right now? The words that I'm saying, I've got to produce a certain amount of energy for you so that we can be content in this situation. But what if you don't get that? Does it change my worth? Does it change your worth? When you're plugged into the source, the energy comes from within you, and you know that. But this world dumps a whole load of distractions on us. A whole load of different energy extraction systems are found in this matrix. And it's our job to decipher them when they appear. You know, you've got to see, where is this coming from? Like, for example, a lot of people like hate me now more because I'm laying at the beach. Because we have certain beliefs tied to that experience from our programming. But then they didn't hate me so much when I looked like I was homeless and living in the woods or something. You know, when I wasn't taking care of myself in the most abundant way, because I had limitations placed upon me, and I had to learn my own needs and learn to look after myself in the best way possible from the ground up. And that's what that was as a spiritual lesson for me. And then a lot of people ask me, Sam, how do you get your hair like that? And I'm like, you know what? I'll give you my secret. I just went in the sea. You know, I'm only joking, guys, obviously, but we place our value on the things that we get in life, and this is also like a energy extraction. It is our job to build our empires, especially as men. It's our job to build our empires, of course. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to realize it's a marathon and not a sprint, you know. 1% better every day. I agree, you know, always be pushing yourself and breaking out of your limitations, learning, all of that stuff. You know, but it's these limitations that we find along the way that are actually our most beneficial adversaries along the way. It's finding our limitations and pushing through them, like realizing that, hang on a minute, maybe people don't actually care what I'm doing right now. They might not think I'm just at the beach. Look at him just at the beach all the time. You know, the thoughts we have about what other people think of us, if they're true, does that matter? No. Is it actually true? You don't even know that. You're just assuming it most of the time. A lot of people just wish you well. They want you to be alive. They want you to be happy. That's what you want for everyone else, right? You want people to be happy. But then why do you not allow yourself to be happy in the process? You don't allow yourself to be happy because you feel like it might be a spotlight now. You're a spotlight shining onto other people's lives, and they're forced to look at their lives and think, well, what have I done with my life? And, you know, if you see that as a bad thing, then that's unfortunate for you. That's called inspiration, and that's what we should inspire to fulfill our own happiness in life, you know, because that's what raises the vibration of you, everyone around you. When you're in that state, you're also getting downloads, so you start to learn things, and the only way you can get into that state is through consciousness, like being conscious in the morning of, I'm going to have a positive, good day today, you know what I mean? Because it starts with today, not within the future, and a lot of us, we're basing our worth on the future, like what I'm going to get, and then maybe I'll be worthy. Worthy of what? You know, even when we have nothing, you know, I'd rather sit with you on the beach than sit in a Lamborghini on my own, or have my own Lamborghini. Imagine I could have my own Lamborghini, or I could sit with you on the beach. I'd much rather sit with you on the beach, obviously. Think about that. But we just have been manipulated in this society to not know what real worth is. What is real worth? Like, it's the character of the individual when times get tough. Who are they? Who are you? You know, do you when failure hits, what do? Do you let it consume you? You know, and do you know, give up on that, or do you stop? Do you just give up, or do you get up and keep going? That's the question. But not just that. You know, who are you to yourself? Who are you when no one's looking? When you're saying yes to other people, is it a no to yourself? Or do you say no, but really it's a yes? You just wanted to, you know, you're just people pleasing that other person and betraying yourself in this way. But you got to connect with the source within, because that's where the energy comes from. We always try to extract it from somewhere else, and that's how we're sort of programmed in the Matrix. But really, that's because we have a lack of meditation in our life. Meditation is just bringing your consciousness back within yourself, tuning back to the source, and realizing I'm the source of creation. Now you're in the meditative state, and you get your own downloads. You're just original, things just flow. You can just trust the process, you can relax, you don't need to stress about it all, just let go and receive, you know, give, receive, you know, I suppose like a battery. But you're plugged into this world, you know, and that's what the Matrix is. But they've portrayed it in rather a negative light, really. But really, it's a wonderful system, you know. As in not the Matrix as in the man-made system, but the natural Matrix, like the natural universe simulation that we're actually in. You know, it like nature is completely abundant, completely looks after us. There's always a flow of energy. You know, if you don't feel that flow of energy, I challenge you to go to the beach, go in the water, and just ride the waves with your own body. You know, you don't have to have a surfboard. Just jump up when the waves jump up and just flow with the water, and you start to just realize the sort of flow of life, how to connect back to the flow of life. And then throughout the rest of your day, just always be like that, like be like water, like Bruce Lee says. Bruce Lee, he talks about something called conscious disruption. And I really like it. It's like every 20 minutes, just realise if you're in some sort of subconscious pattern, comfort zone, and then just break out of it and do something creative. Like, just follow your intuition, basically. Just dance, move, sprint, say something, ask someone a question. Just conscious disruption, because it's going to start rewiring your brain to be more holistic. Bruce Lee doesn't talk about this, but if I was to give more insights on it from a psychological perspective, that's what I'd say. It comes down to our perspective, and what it's doing is it's rewiring our brain, because society's made us more left hemisphere dominated, the system, the artificial matrix, it wants us all to be right-handed, and when you stimulate your right hand all the time through writing or whatever activity, you're exercising the left hemisphere of the brain, which is all logical thinking. And if you're left-handed, for example, you're going to stimulate the right hemisphere. That's why people like me, I'm left-handed. That's why we see the world in a different way. We're more creative and flowy with life, naturally, because I'm more right-brained, because I was always writing with my left hand. And obviously, as I've got older and had spiritual awakening and stuff, I've done practices, and through meditation, I've worked on balancing the hemispheres of my brain. But I'm just telling you because I am a human being with my own stories and my own path, my own past, and things that I have to share with you. But you got to know yourself in this matrix, and in order to know yourself, you have to have courage. You have to take a leap of faith. And I'm not saying you have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to go travel the world, or you don't have to quit your job even, or whatever it is that you think it might be. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. But you have to be willing to let love guide you and not fear. On this journey, you're going to have a lot of self-discovery. And that's going to be so special on your path, because that's what builds the character of who you are. And that's where you get your self-worth from, is through your own journey in life, and just really connecting with that. Don't see things as not happening for a reason. If something's happened, in my life, I've had things happen where they didn't really go to my plans, but I saw it as happening for a reason. And I always thought to myself, out of this situation, only good will come. Out of this situation, only good will come. Out of this situation, only good will come. It's nice to say things like that out loud, because your words create worlds. When I speak, and when you speak, they're affirmations, they're mantras, right? When the words that I say, they create worlds. Like, you can imagine a world from the words that I'm saying. Picture yourself on a lovely boat upon the waves as they drift. As I'm speaking, you're flying through the sky, and you get an image of it, And your imagination, the word imagination breaks down as image in action. And if you open your eyes, what do you see? You still see an imagination. Like, look at me. I've got a story right here for you. A picture tells 1,000 words. What are you getting from the image you're seeing on the screen? You may even be having different assumptions about me because of the image on the screen. Immediately I say things, and immediately you jump to conclusions. Oh, he said this, then he must be this. There's like five other things you've thought of, 5 other categories, all to do with that one thing that I said. That's what I mean by words create worlds. So be really careful with the words that you're creating. As a shaman, a magician myself, someone that helps rewire people's subconscious minds through personalized subliminals, right? That's what I am aware of. I'm aware of the etymology of the words. Like, what do words mean at their true core? I remember who I am. I am something in the past, becoming a member of the source. I am in French is je suis, right? Je suis, right? Anyway, it's J-E, it's basically Jesus. You know, and that is I am in French, right? Which is that a coincidence? I don't think so. There isn't any coincidences, you know. And I think our biggest sort of fear in life as humans, from what I've seen, is just getting through life and not knowing who you are. You know, 20 years have passed and then you find out who you are and you think, what the fuck have I done with my life? I mean, no, not necessarily. It doesn't have to be like that. You know, it can be nice too, but it's not that it's a negative thing. And then this is where you start to discover yourself, because you realize that it all happened for a reason and your path was meant to be. And that's what makes it very spiritual and special. And it's putting together the puzzle pieces along your journey, and that's how you discover your life purpose. You're going to get different puzzle pieces along the journey from the story that you go through. So it's good to journal these things, but more so it's good to keep them in your heart so you can always remember them, because you don't need a journal at the end of the day. But it is useful and it is good to have one. But really, always store your memories in your heart, and they're always etched into your heart anyway. You know, you never forget, but you just need to know how to access them through consciousness. Just meditate, think about memories, try to bring yourself back to the energy of when you was that age, the time, what could you smell, what was it like at that age, you know, and then you're going to start to tap into it and get new downloads on it. That's how it works. That's a psychic ability, but no one ever told you that, maybe. So it's important to have self-worth, because as you start to look after yourself, think about it. If you had a plant that you're growing a tomato plant, let's say, or maybe a marijuana plant, let's make it more interesting. If you was growing it, you'd need to give it the right pH level of water. you'd need to give it the right environment, the right nutrients, look after it, and then it starts to flower in the right way, and you get the right, you know, you get ripe fruit. Right? This is very special, because it tells us about ourselves. How do you get ripe fruit out of a human being? Well, that's a question I want you to answer in the comment section below. Let me know if you've struggled with any of these things, and if you want to work with me, you can find out more about my services in the description box below. Click the link. And thank you for being here. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the videos. Thank you for your support, you guys. Also, if you want to access any of my exclusive content, click the link below and all the details to my services are there. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And until next time, peace and love, my friends.